Hi, everybody. I'm Kathleen Byram, and I am the author of Conversations with Donkey, a Bipolar Journey. I'm hoping that someone will show up and that I will be able to read to you. I'm going to wait a little bit and see if anyone shows up. I don't see anyone in the chat right now, and I only show one person here. So I'll be waiting a little bit to see if anyone comes. I've put out some invitations, but it was only about 15 minutes notice, so no one may come. If no one comes, I'll still read. Okay. Maybe someone's coming now. We'll see. What I could do in the meantime, so I'm not. Oh, hi, Kevin. Someone's here. Awesome. I could go ahead and get started reading since I have someone to watch now. I'm going to read from Ripples, from Conversations with Donkey, a Bipolar Journey by me. I'm going to read Ripples. I've already read in my last video that was live that nobody got to see, but it is on my page. Ripples. Have you ever been so blessed to have the experience of doing something and then seeing the ever-widening results, like ripples in the water? A tiny stone thrown into the stagnant water causes a ripple effect. Our daily deeds are like that. The tiniest little actions that we never stop to give a thought to have great ripple effects we will never know. The ripples go out and touch others, causing them to touch others, and on it goes. My first true and significant realization of how my actions really affect others, and how, as my mother would tell me, people are always watching. Hi, Kelly. Was when I married my first husband at 18. I was painfully ignorant and immature. I lived in a very small town, 2,000, and everyone knew everyone else's business. I received a card in the mail. It said, "The merchants of Orleans have contributed to a family Bible for you as a wedding gift." Now, I was not particularly religious at that point in my life, or even that spiritual. I was an ostrich. But I was deeply touched at this lovely gesture, and I filled out the card and mailed it in. I received a beautiful white Bible with our name on it. I was not about to read it, but I appreciated the love, intention, concern, and other motivations behind it. I felt gratitude. My mother had instilled in me the necessity of writing thank you notes. I wrote thank you letters to every single merchant that contributed to that Bible. Now, as you can imagine, that town had a depressed economy. It was tough to find a job. Our best market was run by a real go-getter who only employed the most winning personalities, kids from my high school, the ones that made everyone smile. I was a reserved, quiet child. I did not exude that charm, but I had put in my application anyway, and of course was not called. Soon after that thank you letter went out, I was hired. Just think about that. That simple little thank you note. Now think about this. How many people do you think sent them a thank you note for their Bible? This really does not fit in with my subject today, but it feels like an important prelude. It made me aware of how my simple actions could touch others. Here are some more things I have picked up over time that I am aching to share with you about kindness and affecting others, which is at the cornerstone of my donkeyness. In my senior yearbook, a girl I barely noticed from my art class wrote, "To the most considerate person I ever met." I cried and never forgot it. Later, I realized her last name was that of the family who was friends with my mother's side of the family. When I moved from Indianapolis, from a huge school with some cruel children, to Orleans, a tiny school, my class had only 50, I noticed a stunning difference in the personalities of the children. They were not hateful to each other. They did not mock. They had decent upbringings and mores. I made friends with the neighbor girl and her friend who rode the bus with me, but were still in the lower school, a few grades behind. I gave them nicknames, Sarah Hare and Joy Robin. As you can see, I have not outgrown my connection with the significance of avatars. One day on the bus, they passed me a note. I had not received many notes as a child, being reserved, a little odd, and not given to being cheerful or very outwardly friendly. So I was titillated with happiness. I rushed into the house and opened it. It was really, my friends, a love letter. It was covered with stickers and said, "We like our names you gave us, and we're glad you're our friend," and other things. I had never in my life received anything like that. I sat and cried. I was a home health aide in southern Indiana years later. One man, Mr. L., loved his aides and was grateful for them. His words belied this, but his body and expressions did not. His body and affect were stiff. I do not know his diagnosis. He was like a stone. I knew much was going on inside that prison of a body he was trapped in. One day he expressed his angst at his predicament. He wondered what use he was. Why was he even alive? Useless, useless, he thought. My heart almost broke for him. "Oh, Mr. L," I told him with great emotion. I am sure my whole normally reserved manner exploded with expression. "You have no idea what plans are made for you. You have no idea what effect your tiny little actions might have upon the world. One tiny little thing that you think nothing of may cause a ripple effect that will spread out and cause a major effect that will change the world." His stiff, stone-like body collapsed inward in a heap, and he howled. I shook with the knowledge of what I had effected in his spirit. I will never forget in a million years. Yes, Evan, I have the same reaction. Other beautiful things. When I was 8 months pregnant in August in Indianapolis, living in hell, my then husband had some trouble and was separated from me. I was alone, no air conditioning, no stove, no food, no hot water, no brain. We were insane with stress. The next door neighbor of our duplex came and knocked on the door. He lived with his children and their mother. He was a nice man. He took me into his home. He led me upstairs to their air-conditioned bedroom and told me to take a nap. When I awoke, he served me dinner in bed. Not long after, my mom and cousin came up with a station wagon and moved me out of there and took me back home to Orleans. Bob on Tacoma in Indianapolis in 1989. God bless your soul. I hope you're happy wherever you are. In San Francisco, I managed a bakery, now closed, in Pacific Heights. A customer began to come who acted strangely. I thought perhaps what he suffered from was something like Tourette's. I had the funniest imagination that when others came around, he would worry that he would have a spell and the nervousness would bring it on. I would save my coffee bean grinding for his visits. I would keep a peripheral eye on him, and when it seemed right, would turn on the loud grinding machine, and no one could hear any odd sounds, and no one could be embarrassed for making them. I do not know if he knew I was trying to work with him. I hope he did, and that was why he kept coming back. For a while, then I suspect the owner, not much of a donkey type, spied him one day, and it was all she wrote. Kevin and Kelly, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being here. I remember a lovely lady, a coworker of sorts, that sadly left for Arizona. I guess I was not aware of the level of my affection for her. One day, when calling her from one store to clear before coming, she answered, and I blurted out with uncharacteristic verbal enthusiasm, "Hello, my sweet friend." Dead silence. My face burned and eyes popped with horror at my schmucky, cringy, dorky act and self. When I got to the store, there was a piece of paper in my parts box. It had a childlike drawing of a smiley face. Highlighters had been used to enhance it. Not the cringing, no. My eyes began to sting a little. I said without thinking, "Who did this?" And a coworker said, "I think she did." She was sitting in front of the computer. She would not look at me. We were stiff with our embarrassment at the emotion of the situation. I told her, "I have a special place for things like this, that I put special things in. I will keep this." She nodded, smiling. Isn't it funny, the little things that happen that touch you so deeply and that you remember? The quality of your life can explode with intensity when you begin living to love. Just little acts can have such an impression, and you never know who is watching or being affected, and how they will go on and touch someone else. I share these things that touch me so that I may touch you and that they will make a difference. Live your life as though the people who matter to you are watching. Now it goes on, but I'm going to stop for a minute and I'm going to talk for a second. Kevin, just goes to show us we have no idea what's going on in someone's head. This one made me cry too. I was basically tearing up through the whole book, would read again, 10 out of 10, release of emotions. Oh my gosh. I love feedback like that. Thank you so much. That is wonderful to hear. Just wonderful. What is it now? We've been here for 15 minutes. I wonder if I should read another part of the book. Does anybody want to comment on that? If you want to hang around for another part? Read more. Okay, I will. First, I'll have a sip of coffee. So I will go on from where I was. Live your life as though people who matter to you are watching. And now maybe you understand a little more about donkeyness, but I suspect I still wasn't very clear. Okay, I'll start back at the beginning. Uh-oh, going to have to digress. Where is the beginning? Well, I suspect that it happened infinity or so years ago from our Maker. I like to think sparks of our Maker, called spirits, come to earth and humanify our bodies, breathing life into a soul. Or something. Your experience may vary. At any rate, I've been around. I, oh, I learned how to pronounce mores today. Oh, cool. Science. Oh, science. Oh. Okay, I'm sorry. At any rate, I've been around, and I suspect so have you. Many, many times. So that we can learn things and experience things we cannot in heaven. Earth seems to be a trade-off. Icky stuff can happen, but the highs are just magnificent. So yes, the beginning. I was born 6/25/65 in Frankfurt, Germany. My mother had wanted me since she was 16 years old. She badly wanted a girl. When she married Dad at 23 or 24 and they were shipped out to Germany, she went on the birth control pill. Her doctor gave it to her because she explained she did not want to get pregnant and be throwing up while traveling, and this made sense to him. So she went on the pill. Well, I was up in heaven waiting. I knew she would be my mother. I know I must have been so excited to go because she is such a stellar mother. Mom said the night she conceived me, a light came down. Warming her, and she knew that I was inside her. She knew she was pregnant, even though she was on the pill. She bled. She went to the doctor, terrified that she was losing me. Oh, pah, like I had any intention of leaving. I had business to attend to. She was so careful with me. I bet she didn't even have coffee. She would have nightmares. At some point, she thought there was a lion under the bed. This was shocking because she's always been so pragmatic, sane, level-headed. That's definitely her. I was born in June. I was due on the 9th. I did not come until the 25th, and that was only because Dad wanted to know if he could lift her if he needed to. He picked her up and her water broke, and she went to the hospital where I was born. No telling how long I'd have stayed if that hadn't happened. I was delivered with forceps. I like to imagine that I didn't want to come out of there. I was a sensitive child. When Dad would scream and yell, Mom said I would hold my breath and pass out. The doctor said to let me do it. Have you ever tried to do that? When you were in severe pain and wanted to pass out? It doesn't work. Yeah, I'm still pouting about it. Oh my, Kevin. I bet I was my mom's best friend. She was almost always mine. Actually, I have several best friends. I have my bestest best friend, Carol Bean, and my best friends, Randy and Nancy, and it's like a trinity. I've had best friends before, but my mom was my first best friend in this life and will be till the end. She was very alone. Oh no, chiropractic adjustment. Oh my goodness. This is a woman who was the oldest out of 10 children. She is also bossy. How could she not be? But this woman is queen of bossy. I've never seen such a great delegator. But she didn't learn everything overnight. She had a process like me. She is the best, most magnificent mother in the world. Get used to hyperbole from me. You will find it often. Anyway, back to Germany. She was stuck in that little apartment with me and had nothing to do but clean house and play with me. She was happy. She loved me so much. Things were hard too. As I mentioned the screaming before, Dad wasn't perfect. Mom was perfect, okay? But not Dad. Dad was human. And Dad was fussy. She tells of how she would fix a nice hot breakfast for him and repeatedly try to get him to get up and eat it until it would turn cold. And he'd hop out of bed, go to the table, and complain that it was too cold and that he said he couldn't eat it. She couldn't fix him more because she had to leave. He would go through the apartment with a white glove. He would move things, just a hair. She would put something somewhere. Maybe she did it to cover a spot or something. I'm making that up for an example. A spot probably didn't dare show its face in her clean apartment. Anyway, he had a little weird thing that he would adjust things just so. He was fastidious. He was a Felix Unger. She remembers working one day, hand sewing a precious pair of curtains from some fabric she had and put them up over an ugly window. He came home and tore them down and called them something hideous and ugly. You don't want to know the word. She was mortified. He would call her stupid. Mom is not stupid. Because she was so loving to me throughout my life, I never noticed just how smart she was until I got much, much older. Waits while you older folks laugh knowingly. So finally, Mom said to him, "You're a smart man. Why would you want a stupid wife?" And he never said it again. She adored me. She was so happy to have me. The only thing I remember from this time is sitting in the kitchen sink, playing with the water. My next memory is in Atlanta, I think. I was about 4 and trying on my dad's x-ray pants. I remember thinking about how long before they would fit. Atlanta wasn't a happy place for Mom. Grandma, Dad's mom, tried to control her. Dad couldn't be himself around her, meaning Grandma. Things got bad and they moved. I know we lived in Virginia and Indianapolis. And that brings me to fitting in. Bang! She shut him down. Boy, she sure did. That woman knows how to shut someone down. She is the most angelic, kindest, most wonderful person. And yet, she is strong. She's strong physically. Even though she's 85, she's still strong. She's little, but she's strong. And she's strong mentally and, well, not all the way mentally because she has Alzheimer's. But he thought he was wearing armor, but she threaded an arrow right through his eye. Sometimes she just had it with him, and she would put up with so much. And finally, she would say something, and it just tore him up because it's the thing about if you're a kind person, if like I am a kind person, I have to be very careful what I say to people because they get used to that kindness and expect it, and it hurts when you say something cross to them, much more so than the average person. And so she knew she had to be kind, but once in a while, she just had all she could take, and she would say something, and it was always right on target. She was not a foolish arguer or a screamer or a yeller or anything like that. She was a listener, and she was a good speaker. I adore my mom. Okay, I can go on. What have we? Fitting in. The term fitting in brought to mind two different scenarios. First, I thought of high school and how I believe I was perceived. The second, I thought of literally fitting into a chair. I'll leave that for a small separate paper, which I hope will be met with good-natured humor. So on to high school we go. The story begins in 1979. That was a funky year. It was the ending of disco and the 70s and the beginning of the torrid 80s. I remember a friend singing "Disco, Disco Sucks" in class that fall of 79. He was wearing corduroys probably and the flannel plaid shirt most likely. I'd like to give you a small social, culturally eye-opening description of that time, but that's not what this is about. This is about me and how I fit in. Well, I didn't. At least that was how it felt. It always kind of felt that way. The first day of high school, I looked awesome. I looked like Annie Hall or something, but not that funky, more conservative. I especially remember the shoes. They looked like a banker's shoes, wingtips. My pants were pleated, a soft material tweedy, very dressy yet casual, and a mauve blouse with a Henley neckline. Unfortunately, I was still burdened with glasses, but at least they weren't a million years old. I looked so nastastic that as I walked up the steps of my school, one of my middle school mates turned and did a double take. That made me feel fantastic. Well, I still remember it some 40 years later. Been more than 40 years now. This book was written several years ago. I had friends that year, several girls who I joined at lunchtime to eat with and talk with. We weren't the most popular girls, but we were nice girls. We were normal girls. We were the girls guys secretly asked out because they were comfortable and friendly. Except I was also prickly and odd. I was delighted when flirted with. I was 14. I had never held somebody's hand romantically, never been romantically kissed. For example, the best girls. When I was probably around 8 or 9, my friend and I decided to touch tongues. This was the most bold and outrageous thing we could think of to do. So we did it, and then promptly fell about the place in, I don't know how you pronounce this. I know the word, but not how to pronounce it. It looks like paroxysms of spasms and protests at the ickiness. We might have done this more than once. Ooh, says Kevin. I was a fun kid. I think I fit in well as a child before I got odd around middle school. Lol. I was also fun in the neighborhood. I was also trustworthy. I was quickly passed around as a reliable and fun babysitter that children liked. It was because I related to children as a child. I always relate to others as a child. Eric, somebody, had this model of how people communicate. The editor made a note on this. It says, Eric Burns, PAC, parent, adult, child, model of communication. There were parents, children, and adults. It showed different ways that people communicate. For example, I usually present as a child to another child or as a child to a parent. They, in turn, may choose to respond as a child, as in, yeah, let's do it. Or they might respond like a parent, chiding me, or an adult, maturely and logically. I never relate to people as a parent. I don't have that vibe in me. More on that another time. Usually I was childlike with a reserved adult-like manner. I'm telling you, I was odd, lol. I liked the normal things children liked growing up. I did make up games. I enjoyed doing that. I made up fun board games too. I remember sliding down the carpeted steps on a cardboard, maybe, and my friend hurt her tailbone. I remember making up the Ghost of Hamlet game. Don't ask how I came up with that as an 8 or 9-year-old, where I would get under a blanket and the kids would come and tease me and poke at me. And sometimes I would rear up suddenly, making them scream and laugh and run, and it was great fun. I suddenly remembered that my mother was a daycare mother. She had a little daycare in their own home. So I was older than the other kids. I felt like the big cheese. I remember when I was in the Brownies, like Girl Scouts, and was on the Debbie Show. Kevin says, I was the same way growing up. Mature beyond my years, adults always mistook it for intellect. The daycare kids got to watch me on there. It must have been very cool for them to see me on TV. I had an 8-ball. You know, the one with the blue or green creepy fluid inside and the pyramid says your answer on it. I loved that 8-ball. I also loved bouncing. I spent the afternoon in my bedroom to encourage Vince to stay here in the coolest room in the house. Oh, thank you, Kelly. I'm glad that you got to come. Oh, the 8-ball versus the bouncy ball. And here it comes. I also loved bouncing. There was a boy in our complex when I was in first grade, and he had a rubber bouncy ball with a handle on it. I was crazy for that bouncy ball. I wanted to bounce it so bad. I'd never been on a trampoline or a pogo stick at that age yet. I just always had this desire, this need to bounce like a tiger. So I politely asked him if I could bounce on his ball. Nope. This was news? Okay, regroup. What if that or this? Nope, nobody, nope. Yes, I suspect now that he was a little butt face. This gets worse. I finally was so desperate to bounce on that ball that I offered him my beloved 8-ball in return for a bounce. One bounce. And finally, he grudgingly accepted. It was a cruel tease of a victory. Bouncy, bouncy, full of fun, fun, fun. A single bounce. Later, as I was donking about, as was my wont, I happened upon one of those holes in the bottom of the building with the metal around it. I don't know how to explain it. Anyway, I looked down. There was my beloved 8-ball, broken at the bottom. That broke my heart. And somehow it felt wrong, like I was the one who messed up here. I had a lovely thing and threw it away for a fling. I felt like I betrayed my 8-ball friend. That's how it felt. I had a tendency always to anthropomorphize things. Kevin. I didn't care much for dolls, but I loved stuffed animals. I couldn't lay anything that looked like a living being on the floor askew, face down. I had to lay them carefully always. Anyway, back to fitting in. I must have gotten another 8-ball. Yay! Because one year we spray painted it silver and I played a fortune teller at our friend's carnival. I think she did it to raise money for MD, I think. Muscular dystrophy. Anyway, that was very exciting for me, getting dressed up with makeup and all and playing this fortune teller. Later in our yard one day, I set up a table and a sign saying I would tell someone's fortune for 50 cents or something like that. A very jolly large man came by in his big car. He reminded me of a friend of ours, so maybe that's why I liked him. He was very good-natured. He howled when I looked at his palm and said he would have XX number of children. He enjoyed himself thoroughly. I always remembered that kind, jolly fellow. I was a fun kid, but my friends were growing up. I wasn't. I remember standing out in the dark with my friends on the street when we were preteens. There was a boy in our group who I liked, but my friend got him instead. I didn't resent her for this one tiny bit. I don't know how that could be. Interesting. Anyway, that night we were hanging about being us, and I suddenly thought of a joke. I whispered to my friend to tell her guy, "You need a new butt. Your old one has a crack in it." This was incredibly hilarious to me. I thought they would love it too. She told him. He took his foot and violently shoved his skateboard into her shin. Oh, Kevin, the love for your friend outweighed your infatuation. She did not flinch, did not say a word, just looked at him. I did not understand the psychology behind all this, or the sexuality or anything. I was just hard as hell at what he had done, and later grateful I had not been his girl. Anyway, that sums up how I felt, like an outsider who didn't understand things. But when I was around 11, I went to the mall with my friend. At this point, I still had several friends, but always had one special friend. Pisces people seemed particularly vibey with me. We went to the bookstore, and I found everything you always wanted to know about sex but were afraid to ask by David R. Rubin, MD. Oh, yes, I found it, and I was clinically interested. Not horny, not trying to score, just feeling that it was time I understood all this. Sneaking my mom's Cosmo magazines and my dad's Playboys wasn't doing the trick. Yes, I believe he sincerely kept those for the fiction. Anyway, I was at the bookstore, no older than 12, probably 11, and I talked the clerk into letting me buy it. How did I manage this? I very calmly and rationally explained to her that my mother would approve because she was very open-minded and would want me learning from a doctor who wrote the book. She sold it to me. This is straight out of Harry Potter when Hermione tricked Lockhart into signing permission for the restricted book. I couldn't just read it and keep my mouth shut. I always told my mother everything. So I told her about it, and she took it away and gave it to Aunt Martha. Never saw it again. I'm digressing. I think I had my share of being liked when I was young. I don't know about it when I got older. Around 11 or 12, sixth grade middle school, I started feeling very uncomfortable. Well, Mom failed the vibe check. Oh. Around 11 or 12, sixth grade middle school, I started feeling very uncomfortable. Girls looked hot and they were attracting boys. I did not look hot. Except for one thing, except for getting out of the house once in purple velvet pants and purple suede boots, I did not dress popularly. I dressed weird. One time I wore purple polyester knit pants, a purple and blue Madras shirt, which I loved, and had to wear my brown rubber boots because it was raining. I forgot my shoes. I had to wear brown rubber boots with polyester knit pants all day. That's the schmucky way I was. When I was in 8th grade, I started to get more comfortable again until ninth. Have a sip of coffee here. Time is it? 1:56. When I was in 8th grade, I started to get more comfortable again until ninth. Then in 1979, I saw a guy in my class that I was insane for. I started dressing like I thought he would dress. Elsewhere, I mention about my dad that I would try to identify with him, a male, instead of my mom, a female. I did the same with this guy. Instead of wanting to look nice, I wanted to look like him. I was wildly infatuated with him. He would torment me. It was often, I think I was highly impressionable, and it molded me in a twisted way. Enough of that. Moving on to Orleans, Indiana in 1980. It was a culture shock. For one thing, it was unair conditioned. I got sent home to Aunt Jenny's across the street every time I'd get swollen up from hives from being hot or got a migraine. And yet these kids did not treat me like a weirdo. They were so nice. The first that was so kind to me was TB. I had friends, people who liked me. I didn't have to go to PE and show them how uncoordinated I was. I never felt comfy in my own body, and I abused it horribly, but that's for another story. Around 3rd grade, I think, was when Dad got health kicky and our diets changed. That was when I got yearny for food, and the weight started to grow. I was always a little plump. When I was 15, I was about a 14-16 size. They didn't have cool clothes for heavier people then. Still, I was never made fun of for my clothes. This was a poor area, meaning monetarily, a southern Indiana farming area. I thought I was prettier than I was, and sometimes slathered on makeup. I hated my glasses. I felt like such a goob. Senior year, I was able to show up in contacts. I was so happy with myself I could burst. I finally felt like I could show everybody my beautiful face. I was vain. I remember saying to my best friend at the time that I was finally pretty. She gave me a look, and I quickly said, "You know what I mean," and was ashamed. My vanity was very insecure. I've always been insecure. It's what drives my feeling alienated from my friends when they were always right there loving me the whole time. Now, let's see. Yes, the mid-childhood family health kick. I was 3 when mine happened. Oh my gosh, you were 3? What was that like? The health kick. I hate health kicks. I've been on one, and I started losing weight rapidly, like a pound a day, because I hit the sweet spot when it came to certain foods, and I was eating, like, walnuts and mushrooms and sunflower seeds and this wonderful smoothie drink that was really good for me and keeps me from having leg cramps, and a bunch of good stuff, and I was just losing weight rapidly, and then my teeth went bad, and I couldn't eat like I was eating, and it messed up the diet, but I was doing so good, I wish I could go back to that. It was whole wheat flour, everything homemade, honey. That sounds like my dad. He was into that. I didn't know any better. I didn't have sugar until I was 7 or 8. You know, they say sugar is not, in a way, sugar is really bad for you, and then in another way, I don't think it makes kids hyper. I think that's a fallacy that it makes kids hyper. I think I read that somewhere. Banana bread and pizza with whole wheat flour is still such a nostalgic meal for me. Oh, banana bread is so good. I find that banana bread is best when you take the bananas and they've gone bad because you didn't eat them in time. Stick them in the freezer, freeze them. Then when it's time to make the banana bread, they'll be all black and gross, and you just peel them off and heat them up a little in the microwave, smush them up, and put them in the batter. It makes a totally different looking banana bread than what some people do. Some people make like a yellow loaf, and what I'm talking about comes out speckledy with little black tiny specks in brown bread, and it's flavorful as hell, and it's so delicious. It's really, really super good. Yes, breaking down the cell membranes via the science of freezing. What time is it? It's 2 o'clock now, Kevin. Um, it looks like no one else is gonna come, and I'm just wondering if I should quit now. I think it's a good stopping point. Then you can do another. I think you're right too. 45 minutes is long enough. I am so grateful that you came. This has been so much fun for me, and I needed that fun. I really appreciate it, and your comments were wonderful. I loved reading them. And this was good practice for me to be able to get better at doing this. It's really a pleasing thing for me and enjoyable. Thank you so much. It felt like 10 minutes. I needed a break in my day. I've been working too hard this morning. Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for saying that. Okay, I'm going to, did you want to say anything else before we go? If not, I'm going to hit. It's so precious to be able to interact with the author too. You need to make an audible version next. Oh, I wish I could just to say goodbye. Have a wonderful day. You too, Kevin. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Now, end stream.